Joseph Stiglitz is actually not just a practical economist, he's one of the greatest theorists. And I respect him more as a theorist when we used to work together, in different economic departments. Now, you have been warning Western countries about the weakness of the financial structures, their lack of regulation, so on. What we are witnessing now is the rise of Asia and the relative decline or slowing down of the West. Now, do you see this as arising from a common set of circumstances, or do you think this is a completely new world in which we are going to live?
Well, first, I think you need to think about this in historical perspective. In 1820, China and India together had 45% or more, 50% of global GDP. And then a series of things, colonialism, unfair trade agreements, fair trade practices, industrial revolution, resulted in the share of GDP of these two countries going from, near 50% down to less than 10%. One way of thinking about what's going on now is a correction of this historical anomaly. That really, with 40% of the population in India and China, of the world's population, there is no reason why they shouldn't have a much larger share of global GDP. And I think that's what you're seeing. What is accelerating the process are, on the one hand, the mistakes in the United States and Europe. There's some discussions in India to follow that deregulation. Be a mistake, I think. The second thing is that I think there have been some very good policies followed in India and China. One of the things that's important is that we've realized that what separates developed from less developed countries is not just a gap in resources, but also a gap in knowledge. Yeah. And there's been a reorientation to trying to close that gap. And India has done a very, very good job of doing that. And that's allowed growth rates that no one ever thought was possible before. So I actually think that there is no reason why that gap shouldn't continue to close.
Can I give another interpretation, which you can then challenge? That all that has happened is that the Western countries have lost the habit of saving. They are spending. Asian countries have learned the virtues of saving and hard work. And what we are witnessing is Asian countries are now practicing the old message of capitalism, and European and American countries are now in a kind of post-capitalist spending euphoria. Would that be
that's clearly
self-correcting?
That's clearly part of it. And just to give you some numbers on that, before the crisis in the United States, the household savings rate had gone down to 0.